Welcome to DT Fae Podcast. I'm Kate.
I'm Elle, and this week we're talking House of Flame and Shadow, chapters 89 through 93.
But first, we have a book rec from Julia. She is at Julia Spadola on IG, and she and her sister Molly are like maybe the first people I really connected with through the podcast. I didn't know they were sisters, actually. They were just like two separate people on Instagram, and then they posted a picture together, and I was like, oh my God, our podcast is bringing people together. They're sisters.
Unless they're already related.
And they've been listening since the beginning, which if you have listened to those early episodes, like, bless your hearts.
Thank you.
I feel like we're getting better. But Julia is hilarious and insane, but our variety of insane. Like, she will finish a book or show the day that it's released. And so her recommendation is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. And it's a book I have seen a lot on like Book Talk. Like, it's very talked about right now.
I think I've read that. I liked it.
Well, I think
it wasn't all done though, right?
No, it is the first book of the Kindred's Curse saga.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what she has to say. There are currently 3 books out, and the 4th and final book, Love This For Us, is coming out in June of this year.
Wow.
And they're all available on Kindle Unlimited. Love that.
There's so much happening in June. Wow.
I know. You know what's also on Kindle Unlimited is, oh God, I wish I'd written it down. Is it
tell us.
Bespelled?
Okay.
Bespelled? You know what I'm talking about? It's like Laura. It's the same author that did the Four Horsemen series, Laura Thalassa.
Okay.
And her books are on Kindle Unlimited now. Anyway, sorry.
It.
She said, I frankly don't know how you both summarize books so well because my pits are quite literally sweating to type this, and I just reread the first book. When I tell you that I will read a book and then I'll sit down to summarize it and every thought just leaves my head. I can't remember anything.
Well, like when you read the like jacket of a book that gives you a general overview, there's so much more that's not included. And so I want to tell you guys about the things that make these interesting or different. But then I over talk about it. I spiral and tell you half the plot, like half the spoilers. I'm like, sorry, but you should read it.
I know. I like that though. Like I need to know specifics because if you read every just like blurb on Goodreads, they all kind of sound the exact same.
Yeah.
But
and then it takes a minute. You're like, oh, wait, is that weird book that had the blah, blah, blah with the sirens? Oh, okay. I need those like cues to remind me.
Right. And she starts with the world building. The world is called Amerion, and it's divided into 9 realms. There are 9 immortal siblings known as the Kindred, and they escaped the violent destruction of their world and sought refuge in Amerion and then basically took it over. They're like magical Christopher Columbus, basically. Each of the Kindred fell in love with a mortal citizen of Amerion, and not wanting to watch their loved ones grow old and get ugly and die, they all agreed to give up their eternal youth, cannot relate, to bind their lives to their mortal lovers using a forging spell.
Wow.
Through this spell, Amerion was broken up into the 9 realms, and it's named for each of the 9 Kindred, big fire sign energy, and infused with its patron god or goddess's respective magic. The offspring of the Kindred are the magical race known as the Descended, and they now rule over the realms. It's kind of shitty because the Descended are living lavishly while the mortals live in literal slums and squalors. That's like every book we read, it's like that. Each realm is identified by different types of magic and different eye colors. For the Descended, humans have brown eyes because of course they do. The Descended's power only works in their home realm, which is one of those file away for later facts. So like if they go to one of the other realms, they can't use their magic, which I think is really interesting.
Ooh.
And she's like, I didn't pay attention to that at first, but it's something you need to remember. The story starts on Forging Day, which is a holiday in all of Amerion that celebrates the day the Kindred did their little forging spell. And we meet the main character, Diem, I think Diem, Diem Bellator. And she is roughly 20 years old, gross. And you guessed it, she is not like other girls. All mortals in Amerion have brown eyes, like I said, but Diem had a, quote, childhood illness that changed her eye and hair color, and it reminds me of Violet from Fourth Wing in that way. She has lasting effects from this, quote, unquote, illness and takes a mysterious powder that her mother, who is a healer, gets for her. Seems bad. Diem is trying to safely make her way home through the slums of her city after finishing her time working as a healer, and she's harassed by men, can relate, who, upon seeing her eye color, they mistake her for one of the Descended. She manages to escape them and stumbles across her mother having a heated argument with a strange male. And yes, Kate, he's sexy.
Love this.
She tries to eavesdrop on the conversation, can't blame her, and is interrupted by an old hag who knows way too much about her personal life and spooks her. Diem goes home, but her mother never comes home. I know. Diem is suspicious and thinks the descended male had something to do with the disappearance. I'm guessing he's actually a good guy. This is definitely the catalyst of the plot as Diem begins to take over for her mother's healing duties. There is an accident in the castle in the descended city that the human healers get called upon to help with. And in the months since Diem's mother's disappearance, she finally sees that sexy descended guy again. And she says that it's an original story with a strong female protagonist, and the MMC is so sexy. That's like all I need to hear. There's a lot of good banter and some interesting subplots. I devoured the book and I'm so excited for the fourth one to come out. I think that sounds so good. Like
that was a really good recommendation.
Yeah, that sounds like that made ours look like shit. Like, that was very good. I
just keep thinking back when I was trying to tell you guys about When the Moon Hatched, and I was like, oh wait, and then let me tell you about this. And then also this. Well, and then here's like kind of the plot.
It's like an entire world. It's hard, but that was like a really good summary. Like I feel like I have a good understanding.
Yeah. Girl, you did a really good job with that one.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to read that, especially, I mean, I was sold on like sexy MMC.
Yeah, thanks, Julia. I'll take any more other recommendations you have.
Oh, I wanted her to write a recommendation because she sent a cover of like, it was a Milkmaid book and it was horrifying looking. And I was like, yes, send me.
Oh, I've seen that. It's like a cow that's like a man. I was like, what is happening? That's really funny.
So future book rec.
Okay. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into House of Flame and Shadow, chapter 89. We ended the last episode with Rhys thinking he'd outsmarted Bryce.
And to be fair, he definitely did last time. Like, it's not crazy of a thought to think that you outsmarted these people. But Rhys, so he thinks he's one step ahead of Bryce, because up until this point, he kind of has been one step ahead. But he's assuming that she isn't aware that he knew about the Northern Rift opening and Hell's armies coming through. Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard
it's a little smarmy. He's like, girl, you didn't even know what I was planning. But not only was Rhys prepared for an attack in the city, hence the Asterian guard lying in wait, but he guessed Bryce would leave the rift open as an escape route, so he sent 3 legions with brimstone missiles into Hell.
Which he assumes is unguarded, and I was reading this like, fuck, did we just get outsmarted again? But we soon learn those legions will be in for quite a surprise when they find half of Hell's armies waiting for them.
You suckers thought we were just going to like blow our load all at once? Come on.
I mean, I would kind of expect that.
Well, even if Bryce doesn't know what's up because she's so young, those leaders of Hell,
right?
They've
been planning this for 15,000 years.
Yeah, my brain is not functioning with words, but they should absolutely know how to handle this situation. They've been to battle and war before.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Bryce isn't the same female that you fooled before, like last week.
I know, it's so wild. Like all these, like there's so many mentions of her growing as like a person and a leader, and it's like from last week.
I mean, a lot has
like
happened.
8 days.
So I get that a lot has happened very quickly, but yeah, it's only like, that's a lot of transition very quickly. The
timeline is absolutely insane.
Wild.
Bryce teleports she and Hunt out of the palace and into the chaos before we switch POVs to Ruhn and Lidia racing through the halls, veiled in his shadows.
Which didn't work last time when the Dreadwolves could still smell him.
I know, they were all like,
is this the best plan? There's no sign of Lydia's sons in the dungeons or the holding cells.
Lidia takes Ruhn down where the Asteri's mystics are kept in their sunken tubs, and remember that old bitch that oversees them? She tries to stop, and Lidia immediately puts a bullet in her head. Like, I don't even think Lidia stops walking. Like,
bitch, we do not have time.
We don't have time for this.
I got places to be. Lydia's moving from tub to tub, entering the question, where Lidia services sons into the mystics monitors.
It's kind of like a slave-powered search engine.
Yeah.
And I wonder what they're going to... I have so many questions about the next book, like logistics. Like, it's good that, it's going to be a changed world, but I'm also like, logistically, like, what's happening with these mystics? Like, remember the last time we freed a mystic? It didn't go well.
Well, this should also be a choice, not a slave position.
Yeah.
They're forced into.
She learns that Pollux has the kids, quote, under the palace. So it's that place that Bryce discovered under the archives with the first core light.
Yeah, that is not a good place to be with everything they're trying to do with that first light. It's obviously a trap, but it's her sons. Like, you can't expect her not to run to them.
Ruhn tries to slow her down, but she's sprinting again, putting herself and everyone at risk because she's so frantic and desperate. Again, Understandably so.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard situation for Ruhn because, like, I want to support you, but we have to be smart about this so you don't get us all killed.
Right.
So Ruhn pulls a fucking gun on her, shooting her, tells her it's for her own good.
He leaves her there, wounded, vulnerable, behind enemy lines. And I know that I'm assuming this is supposed to be part of the whole SJM mate rage, protect them at all costs things, but I have some thoughts
I don't
about
know.
this.
I appreciate why she's feeling this way, but I also was over it. Like, I would shoot her and be like, girl, you're going to get us killed because you're
Yeah,
being
but it
crazy.
would be different if Ruhn shot her and then handled shit, but he shoots her from running into a trap, and so he runs straight into it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did, like,
So you didn't plan anything either. You just stopped me from
you
doing
just stopped me.
it.
She still has to come save the day.
Yeah.
Mm.
It didn't really work out. I guess in his mind, he's going to save the day, but, it didn't really. Put
No, and
himself at risk instead.
he put himself at risk. He took out his most powerful ally, and
Yeah.
now I don't know.
Now you guys are going to have some trust issues.
Right.
It would be different if Ruhn actually managed to save her sons.
Like, what if the Dreadwolves or one of the Asteri or the guards had found Lidia in this time that she's wounded? They could have taken her. They could have killed her. Like, a lot could have happened. We're just very lucky with who finds her.
I mean, that is all very true, but also you guys just gave away your location because I doubt you have a silencer on.
Yeah.
So now they're like, okay, they're here.
And I can see, like, big picture why it needed to happen. Mostly it's an excuse for her to be one of the characters to get the antidote. Like, plot wise, it makes sense, but
Yeah, it's still like nobody's thinking things through,
no.
either one of them. So it was not, I understand why it happened. It wasn't great.
Mm-mm.
Speaking of the plot, Tharion's here.
Woo!
He's swimming his way toward the palace with a bag of antidotes while brimstone missiles slam into Hell's armies.
The Asterian Guard are closing in on the army, but they're waiting for them to get as close as possible before starting phase 2.
Deck hacks into the mech suits.
Because the Asteri, I guess, don't have a geek squad, or they need to hire a new one, because either Deck is the smartest person on the entire planet, or this is just ridiculous.
I mean, Deck needs to be teaching all classes because he just has some skills that clearly nobody else
I wonder
has.
where Mark is. I guess I wonder where, are they on a Valen? Probably.
Oh, yeah, I think probably. Bryce puts the mask back on and tells the souls of the fallen to obey Isaiah and Naomi and fight alongside Hell.
And the Fallen are side-eye, like, fight beside who?
Also, I thought she was going to give him a choice.
Yeah, was that a choice? That didn't sound...
You need to go fight. Excuse me?
Yeah, and you're going to follow these people, and yeah.
The mech suits begin moving again, this time being controlled by the Fallen.
And the souls who can't find, I guess it's like a mad dash to the mech suits, and they're like, and they jump into whatever they can find. So it's like demons that have died, like dead Asterian guards, which honestly would make things very confusing because you're like,
do I kill them?
Yeah, are you an ally or am I?
It's a lot. It feels like it's kind of chaotic.
Very.
An army of the undead, machines, and demons march for the city walls as the Asteri are distracted with the surprise forces left in Hell.
Right on time, the Asteri themselves walk onto the battlefield and they're met by Apollion and Thanatos. And this part literally gave me chills because this is something, it's been so long.
Well, these are some very big power players on both sides. Like, this is going to be huge destruction. It's finally here. It's very like Avengers Endgame.
Yes, it is. Both sides have been waiting for this rematch literally for 15,000 years. And now they're just like walking up to each other and like the chaos around them. Like, it's very cinematic. Like, it would be great in a movie.
I can visualize it really well. The most dangerous part of the plan starts now as Bryce teleports she, Adis, and Hunt down into the chaos.
And they're surrounded by the worst of Hell. The Crystallis demons, the Death Stalkers, the Hounds.
And it's all racing toward the city.
So let's hope that all the innocents got out.
Yeah.
Imagine going back when we were reading Earth and Blood and being like, one day Hunt and Bryce will be fighting with the Crystallis demons.
That seems very likely. The 5 Asteri, no Rigelus, stare down the 3 princes, Bryce and Hunt, as demons and guards and fallen battle around them.
But at least it's only half of the Asteri's guards. The other half are like fighting for their lives in Hell thanks to Hunt's plan. I'd like to give a little bit of a shout out to Hunt.
I mean, he was a general.
I'm so proud of him.
I'm very proud of Hunt.
Right. He was a general, and I don't think we haven't seen him flex that.
I know. We need to give him more credit where credit's due.
Right.
Polaris sends a blast of power for Bryce, but it's immediately devoured by Apollion's darkness.
It's just so sexy. Like, he is so powerful.
Okay. Seems the Asteri forgot how powerful the princes are, but they keep a healthy distance after that reminder.
Which is a problem because for this plan to work, they need to get, like, very close.
In the Asteri's light and the prince's dark meet.
I love SJM is really good about turning the whole, like, classic light is good, dark is bad trope around. Like, we're rooting for the darkness here, and it's kinda like with Rhys and Tamlin or in Mist and Fury or, like, really any of her books. I guess expect not Throne of Glass because it's a Vogue, but we usually end up, rooting for, like, the darker characters.
Yeah, I appreciate the not plot switch, but the different perspective.
Yeah.
Bryce goes off script, choosing to draw the Star Sword and Truth Teller instead of teleporting back to the palace to destroy the First Light core.
So Hunt yes ands and strikes Polaris with lightning while Bryce teleports in front of her with the blades raised.
She plunges them into Polaris' chest, and Bryce star flares, blazing into the blades as the world begins to slow, just like it did when Micah, Sandriel, and Vesperus died.
What's interesting is Hunt watches droplets of Polaris's red blood, but Vesperus had black blood, and that's why we theorized that she could be either Vogue or like a different species from the same world.
Yeah, there's also the stolen identity.
Right. And yeah, Vesperus is, remember, she's like confused someone else is going by the evening star. Like
Mhm.
Hesperus literally changed one letter and started going by evening star. Like, it's just, could the Asteri and Midgard, or at least some of them, be imposters or something? Like, what?
Or puppets. Could it be a glamour like Maeve?
It could. I mean, I guess the red blood, we've seen Vogue, have red blood. So I either that or like it depends what kind of host you inhabit.
Or maybe it's the second light makes their blood more red than black.
It
So
could
Vesperus
be.
had been lying underground for like, what, 15,000 years?
But then what about the Vogue?
Well, that's a different world. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't have an answer.
It could just be like as simple as they're from the same world as the Vogue, but they're different species. Because think about how many species are coming from Midgard.
Yeah.
Like it was never really said that we're the only ones that were living
Well,
in
it's
this
also
world.
been 15,000 years, so their species could have evolved differently.
Yeah.
Speaking of theories, the princes shed their humanoid skins, and we finally get a look at the real them.
Creatures of darkness and decay, mouths full of sharp teeth with leathery wings and a black mass laying within Apollion's open mouth.
First of all, gross.
But also, doesn't it sound a little like Rhys's beast form? Which
And
kind of sounds a little like a dragon?
yeah, I mean, does he have a literal black hole in his mouth?
He's the prince of the pit. So like I guess is that where, like, is that the pit? But we're gonna talk more about black holes soon, but I have a lot of questions
Yeah, and how
about
this is
Apollion.
different. Yeah. Bryce is falling with Polaris, the two blades finally meeting in the Asteri's chest with Theia's star uniting them.
And whatever opens or is unleashed by that is drawing the world into this portal to nowhere.
Theia was right. Opening the portal isn't just dangerous to the Asteri, but to everyone in its reach.
It's all happening too slowly, so Bryce is also getting sucked in, and Hunt sees it, and basically on pure instinct, he directs his lightning to where the blades meet, and where his hellfire meets her starfire, Polaris literally implodes.
That's amazing. We should do this again. Hunt sees a flash of the tiny inky dot where the blades met before Polaris is sucked into it.
And the Asteri are shook. Like, good luck getting this close to them again.
So is Hunt so is Hunt after realizing this portal to nowhere is a black hole. I mean, that's terrifying. Can't control that.
Right. It makes it as dangerous for the whole world as Theia warned. And it's extra dangerous because it's Bryce. And I don't know if she always thinks through.
I mean, I think it's since she was too close, I think it's finally hitting Bryce just how dangerous her plan is.
Right. It's opening 5 more black holes and hoping it doesn't yank anyone else in or even the entire world in.
Well, because nobody else can close it, bitch, if you do this.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah, like if she were to open it and then something happened and then she died, the entire world would just be sucked in.
Yeah, pretty quickly. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me when the cauldron was broken.
I do think the cauldron is Prythian's kill switch. Like, we're about to learn more about kill switches, but I was thinking on like what could be this version in Prythian.
Yeah.
And this And is this the pit where Apollion and the Underking claim to have been birthed from? Like, we finally get a look at this, like, void or black hole or whatever. Does that mean that they actually born from it? Did they just escape it, and so they're calling it? Where were they before?
Is it
I
the
don't know.
same thing as what we saw in Apollion's mouth, though? Because it feels like he should have more control over what's happening if that's the case.
Well, I guess that's why he was able to kill Sirius, like, when he, quote, unquote, "ate her," is, like, it's the black hole, so, like, the only thing that can kill an Asteri. But
But
if
he should be able to eat the others too, though.
well, he has
Instead
to
of
get
it
close enough.
I know, but, like, why is it relying on Bryce if Apollion can do it too?
I guess because they're not letting him get close enough to eat them.
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. That's why I have questions because, like, if that's the plan, we can attack them from a different side so you can get closer. Like, we can find an easier way than ruining the whole world by
Yeah.
opening a portal to nowhere.
Yeah, it's and, like, imagine making out with him.
Nope.
You just get sucked into
I know you
a
keep talking
black
about
hole.
how hot you think he is, and I'm like, that black hole, though. Is
I
that
know,
what
as
you
soon as
want
it
to do?
opens the mouth, you're like, "Ugh."
Wow. There's really no time to celebrate. They at least killed one Asteri because Ruhn calls them, telling them to get to the hall with the first light core.
They teleport in, and Bryce is slowing.
That's a lot of power she's used very quickly.
Right.
There's a lot of teleporting and wielding those blades. It would take a lot out of you.
And they don't get a second of rest because it seems like Thanatos doesn't have as tight of a leash on his pets as we thought.
Naturally. Or he has his own agenda. Just as they're squaring off against a pack of demons, a wall of water crashes through the hall and Tharion saves the day.
Kind of. He kind of saves the day. It wouldn't be Tharion without a but. He saved them from the pack, but the force of the water snapped the strap on his bag that was holding the antidotes.
I mean, damn it, Tharion. We're rooting for you.
He's still doing more than Ithan, but like, fuck.
Well, at least he was trying to help. It wasn't like he just like slapped into a wall on accident.
I know. Tharion wants to find the antidotes. Like, he starts looking around, and because he wants to give them to Bryce and Hunt in that moment, but they're like, there isn't time. And they like run off to the first core light.
I mean, with everything
first
happening,
light core.
You're telling me they couldn't wait a minute to find the antidote?
I know. I
like
was
with what you're running towards.
Slow down and just look. Like, if they all looked for it, they could find it really quickly and just take it, and then game over.
Take it while you're running. You'd be fine.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I just keep imagining like how powerful they would be without the parasite and how this book would have gone.
Well, yeah,
if they had that power.
I hate that we didn't get to see them level up, but maybe that's for the next book when Hypaxia figures everything out.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like when Sarah was writing it, she didn't want to take away from what they're about to accomplish.
Yeah, without
that they
the
were
help.
leveled up, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Bryce is already very leveled up with Theia's power. Maybe she doesn't need an extra boost to try to control at this moment.
Right.
And what's the big rush? They've got to.
I don't understand why they were like, we have to get to the first light core now.
But I mean, like, did he even tell them why? Like, they're like, get to the core now. We were going to. We're on the way.
Yeah.
Like, you're already part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
What's right now?
It's just one of those things that it frustrates me.
I mean, Ruhn had fucked up.
At least he knows it. He has it literally says Ruhn had fucked up. He literally shot his mate to keep her from running into a trap, and then he turned and he sprinted into that trap. So,
I mean, I guess he didn't think there was another way around it. He just didn't want her to get hurt. But
why
did you shoot me?
Shot.
I didn't fix anything. He's standing before Pollux, hands raised, no sign of Lydia's sons.
Pollux is like, where's Lidia? And, well, I left her bleeding and vulnerable on the stairs.
Pollux pushes past Ruhn.
And he just lets him. Like, I don't know. There are moments where I'm like, wasn't Ruhn supposed to be like a really good fighter in the Ox? Like, why don't we ever see that?
I don't know. But also maybe he was going to try to look for her sons while Pollux is distracted to get them to safety.
I don't know. Maybe.
But when they get to where Lydia's scent leads Pollux, she's gone.
Tharion finds Lidia and the antidotes.
2 unbroken vials.
When I was reading, I was like, obviously those should go to Bryce and Hunt, but they couldn't wait 5 fucking seconds. Plot wise, now I understand why Ruhn shot Lidia, because she's now at like the top of the antidote list.
I don't think he had that kind of planning, but it worked out for him.
I think Sarah had that kind of planning.
Yeah.
Because she wants us to see what happens to Lidia when she levels up.
I wasn't mad at Ruhn for trying to stop Lidia because I could see it being like, bro, if you just rush in there, you're going to get us killed. But like, Lidia is a top strategist.
Mm-hmm.
She's not an idiot. So like, even though she's rushing, that doesn't mean she couldn't have handled the situation if you had just left her alone, Ruhn.
And she does have to fucking handle it.
Yeah, I have way more confidence in Lidia being able to assess the situation and handle it than Ruhn.
I have more confidence in Lidia than any character in this book.
Total facts.
Other than Fitzroy.
Okay. I support him in his role. There's obviously no stopping Lidia from going after her sons, so Tharion gives her one of the 2 vials.
And she takes it like us doing lemon drop shots on Broadway in like 2011. Like she's just like we were talking about with Bryce and Hunt, what they should have done. She just knocks it back. And
I mean, I think you're going to have to do that no matter what. We got to get this going. We can't sip on it. Her gunshot wound instantly heals and her eyes blaze gold.
Like the Vogue Kings.
And Manon.
Lidia is shaking with rage and power, something having awoken in her thanks to the antidote.
You know, I'm just, obviously we'll hopefully find out more later, but the blazing gold, I'm like, could she end up being a descendant like with Dorian and Manon?
Yeah,
because
we're definitely going to talk about that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll let us continue.
Don't ruin it.
Don't get too soon, Ellen, too soon. Pollux says something about their souls being entwined.
And it's something that was also said in Sky and Breath, that there was some connection between them. And I remember thinking that there was like a bargain or a curse, but it seems to be just like Pollux being possessive or something we don't learn about in this book.
I guess there's some part of him that after all this time, he feels like she understands him. And so he just has an expectation that she is his.
I guess. I thought it was more like he actually had control over her, but he just seems to think that he has control over her just as like a male over a female.
I honestly feel like he's having a moment of like, are you breaking up with me? Nobody breaks up with me.
For this fucking guy?
Nobody breaks up with me. Overlooking for Lidia, Pollux whistles and 2 angels step out with Lydia's sons bound and gagged between them.
And Tharion knows better than to try to stop Lidia.
I mean, something Ruhn should learn.
Elsewhere, Bryce and Hunt blast into the hallway with the 7 pipes with plaques and screens showing the Asteri's power levels.
Sirius and Polaris, R.I.P., are now dark, but the others are nearly full, one at full power.
And it's the fuck standing right in front of them.
It's not great. It's not great.
Not great.
Rigellus blasts them with power, and Bryce and Hunt block it with their own, the impact shaking the entire palace.
Bryce throws Polaris in his face, but it doesn't seem like Rigellus seems to care.
I feel like these guys are definitely out for themselves after 15,000 years.
Absolutely. Especially
Rigellus above all.
We're going to get to it pretty soon. There's a moment where, towards the end of the book, Rigellus and another Asteri that you're like, oh yeah, he doesn't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
And recalling what Hunt's lightning did to Stone when he shot it at Polaris earlier, Bryce asked if he thinks that he could warp Crystal with it.
I don't know why not, because it's kind of like fire on glass.
Right.
Although it's crystal and rock. Never mind. I'm not going to pretend I know that.
I don't understand. I'm just
like I didn't take geology.
I don't have a thought in my head.
Only one way to find out. Hunt's hellfire slams into the crystal floor and it peels away, revealing a tunnel to the core first light beginning to form.
It is a very important moment. So, of course, let's go find out what Ithan is up to.
Love it. He's sprinting through the streets of the Eternal City toward the palace.
And he's calling everyone, but like they're fighting for their lives. They don't have time to message you back on WhatsApp.
I mean, if their phones were even still with them.
Yeah. Well, they actually are calling. Like Ruhn called Bryce and she picked up, but nobody picks up for Ithan.
You're right. You're right. Ithan is running with the Godslayer rifle and the bullet his brother and the souls of the Bone Quarter made and a container with vials of antidote. Thank God.
Have you ever been running and holding something?
I'm not going to say it's great.
It's not great. A brimstone missile hits nearby and Ithan is thrown against a building, his bag now leaking with the broken shards of the antidote.
Can I just for a second, if you bitches would use some fucking bubble wrap. I know they have it.
Well, at least Tharion has more. That's what he thinks. He's like, he sees all the broken vials and he's like, oh, thank God
these guys
Tharion has more.
Really good at hoping somebody else will handle it.
Yes.
He's helped to his feet by a human woman.
And behind her are more humans, all heading to battle. They're like joining this battle against the Asteri, even though they have you can't go up against any of these as a human, but
I mean, that's really
like
brave.
the human spirit, you know?
Yeah, they're like, okay, it's time. We're doing this no matter what. But back to Ruhn,
who saved Lidia from Pollux's trap by running directly into it himself.
Pollux does his villain speech, revealing he learned of Lydia's sons by catching a Mer spy before telling her he's going to enjoy killing Bran and Actaeon in front of her.
And it's a lose-lose. Even if Pollux lowered his gun, which is still pointed at Ruhn's head, he'd still be close enough to kill the boys with one strike. So there's no way to reach them in time. Like, Ruhn is running through the options in his head, but then he's not the best strategist in this room, so...
Planning ahead is not his forte, okay? Pollux tells the guards to go get Rigellus because he'll enjoy watching this too.
And it's also just because villains always give time to be stopped.
And an explanation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they do. Tharion strikes with a blast of water, and Ruhn darts out of the way of a bullet, but he realizes too late the bullet isn't pointed at him.
Tharion is hit somewhere in the chest and folds. I don't know why out of everyone in that room he would shoot at Tharion.
Yeah.
But okay. Lidia continues to beg for her boys, offering anything, including herself. And I think that's when her sons finally start to understand everything that she has sacrificed for them, like everything that she's willing to do for them. Because especially, was it Bran that had the attitude? He just had such a bad attitude about her. Okay, being Ace, being like, you know, just like the classic teenage, you left us.
Well, I mean, this is the first time it's tangible. Like, they knew of their mother. This, like before was like the first time they even figured out who she was.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to take in all at once, but also they knew her as a villain before. So that's a lot to process when you're trying to come to terms with meeting your mom. But
and all the underwear is probably too small for them because it's Death Charger underwear and it's made for Myrrh.
I don't need to know that about those teenage boys.
You're right.
It's a big issue, I'm sure. I do wonder how much her sons are going to be in the next book, though. Like, I really hope they get their own stories and this can all kind of evolve.
I wonder if it'll be like a time jump. I wonder if it will be a time jump, actually. Like, just...
I don't know. There's so many backstories I want to learn about. And like, I want Lidia to have a chance to spend time with them.
Right.
Unable to watch Lidia grovel, Ruhn offers a trade, him for the kids.
And he finally says the truth that we have known since way back on the Mind Bridge out loud. Lidia is my mate.
I mean, he fucking shot her, so it's the least that he can do.
You let everyone go and you can take your time pulling me apart piece by piece. Ruhn says before telling Lidia mind to mind, he loves her and he will find her again in the next life before shutting off the connection and turning himself over to the hammer.
And that's where we'll pick up next week with chapters 94 through 98.
And we will be in Italy, so arrivederci.
What just happened? Is that arrivederci?
Arrivederci.
Thanks, y'all.